Cool. So yeah, welcome to the newest knowledge drop. If this is your first time, guys, just so you know how it works, basically we're going to give Matt the first half of the drop, at least like 15 minutes or so to go through his deck. And then we'll save some time at the end, the last 10 minutes or so for some question and answer. So feel free to use the question and answer box or the chat box just to, write back and forth to each other. Write Matt like, wow, you're so smart. You look so attractive, or whatever you want to say to Matt as he's doing his talk. We'll just keep it moving. And basically there's an archive of all these. I'm recording this video now, and there's an archive of all these videos of the previous knowledge drops. So if you want to access any of them or share this when it's done with any of your friends that you think might benefit from it, that's why we make the recording. So without further ado, I'm going to give it over to my main man, Mr. Matt Fountain. Thanks for being here, dude. Appreciate it.
No problem, Travis. Thanks. Let me share the screen.
Let's do the old-fashioned screen share.
Yeah. Let me know. Is that complete?
Perfect, man. Looks beautiful.
All right. Let's get going. Thanks, Travis. Again, today, guys, I'm going to be talking about best practices for working remote, both day shift and night shift. Some things we'll get out of this are helpful for remote workers, do's and don'ts for night shifts. Just a little background on myself. I worked in sales at AT&T remotely for 8 years. Time zones, led a division of 55 people selling data infrastructures and telephone units 6 out of 8 years. And I also started working remotely in my division to boost productivity because I was working across multiple time zones. AT&T's traditional way of doing things was to have offices all around the country in pretty much every city you can think of, and then have the workers come in and then kind of go do visits to customers. AT&T has since started selling buildings and are putting more people in the field to work remotely as they see boost productivity. You don't have to fight traffic and things like that. It's part of the argument I made for that. So let's get going. So best practices for working remotely. Percent of all workers spend all or most of their time working remotely last year, according to a Gallup poll, and that's supposed to go up another 6 to 10% over the 3 to 5 years. So it is something that companies, again, are looking at doing. One of the first things I always like to talk about as far as working remotely is workspace. You have to determine where you work best from. Is it a home office? Is it a coffee shop? Is it a co-working space? What are you most comfortable? What are you most productive in? Some people, mix and match and use several different venues. That's what I like to do. Some people like solidarity and like the quietness of working, alone. Also, another big thing is a dedicated workspace, no matter where you're at. Dedicated workspace and knowing where your things for your tools for work are, your pads, your pens, your notepads, so you're not wasting time searching for things around the area you're working in. Working at home, I always say dress for work and no pajamas. I find you're a little bit less productive if you stay in your pajamas and get on the couch and work. I'm sure we've all done it before, but it's just kind of one of those best practice things that I like to stick to. I also can move around a bit. I'll go to coffee shops. I work in the co-working space. I work in the apartment. It just kind of depends on the mood I'm in that day.
Hey, Matt, before you keep going, your audio's kind of choppy a bit. I don't know if you want to just try to unplug your headphones and see if it's better just to go straight through the computer. Like your video seems fine, but just your audio seems to go like in and out. So maybe that'll help. I don't know. What's that? It's really quiet. Yeah, I can hear you, but it's super, super quiet.
It's all the way up. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. But now it's quiet again. Back and forth.
What about now? I'm just adjusting the volume.
Yeah, and there's like a buzz going on. I don't know. It sounds okay. I can hear myself in your computer.
Sounds okay.
Also weird.
Okay, that's weird. All right, so schedule your day. Get into a routine. Getting into a routine kind of sets, the basis for what you're going to do for the day. Wake up and start work kind of at the same time if you can. End at the same time if you can. Set your goals and priorities for your work day before you start your day. That's important because when you're working remotely, it tends to be easier to get sidetracked, right? Things come up. You could, walk down here to get something to eat. You could go see, a museum or something you want to see. So, there can be interruptions. So schedule and set your priorities. Also schedule breaks. Step away from work for a while. Staring at a computer all day, eventually, hurt your eyes, hurt your head. And sometimes it's just better to take a break and walk away and grab a coffee or something down the street and come back to work, and you're more productive that way. Be flexible with your work hours, especially if you're on the road traveling, and you're covering time zones. The being flexible with your work hours and being able to adjust to both, working night hours and day hours is pretty important. One of the worst things you can do probably while working remotely is that I'll get to that later syndrome. Putting things off when you're working remotely, especially when you're traveling, things build up, and eventually your performance at the office is gonna lag behind. So putting things off is probably one of the worst things you can do work-wise while working remotely from home. Streamline productivity. Organization is key, both physical and virtual. Keep your PC pretty streamlined and know where your applications and where your files are, so you're not digging around. Physical goes back to your desk space. Make sure your paper, your printer, and things like that, or so you can complete your work. Cut out as many distractions as possible. There's several ways to do that. There's some apps you can put on your computer that kind of block your social media applications from time to time. Cut out distractions as far as if you're working from home and you've got kids or something, shut the door so they're not popping in and out and distracting you. You'd be amazed at how many conference calls I've been on where someone's kids run in screaming at dads at, do this or do that during the call. Choose proper software and applications to streamline your workday. So, with that said, there's several personal apps that can be helpful. 5-Minute Journal is an app you write basically 5 minutes in every day, and then you open it in the morning, and it goes over the things you want to do. One big thing, it's kind of a nice app. You basically write the one big goal you're trying to accomplish that day, and you do anything else until you complete the task or that goal. Freedom is an app that blocks social media applications like Facebook and things like that, so you can concentrate on work. And then another helpful app I found, especially when trying to work the night shift in Asia, was Brain FM. So it's basically a radio app that plays music to help you sleep during the day, or relax, different things like that, take your mind off work. So I ended up using that one a lot in Asia. Don't forget to socialize. Working remotely can be a little lonely from time to time. You can use a virtual water cooler at the office with your team, basically like a Slack place or something like that, just to have quick conversations, take your mind off work. You can interact with others in the space if you're co-working at the time. Go out for coffee and meals instead of fixing it, in your apartment, in your home, hotel room, wherever you're working from. And also short conversations with non-coworkers to take your mind off work, help with the socialization so it doesn't get a little boring and lonely out there on the road. Now I'll go into the dreaded night shift, which a lot of remote workers are a little nervous about going into it. I didn't find it that bad, but I've talked to several that didn't like it much at all. So here's some things to just think about. Sleep is key when you're working the night shift, right? So stick to a structured sleep schedule. If you're trying to go see things during the day and you want to save daylight, try to get to bed before 6 or 7 and wake up at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. You still got some daylight, and then take a nap before you start working again. Blacking out your windows, so getting your bedroom as dark as you can is really key. Light really messes with your REM sleep, and it also makes it harder to sleep in general. I found something helpful was try to wind down during your last hour working. So work from the couch, or actually work from bed the last hour if you're just sending emails, or you're on a video call or something like that. Just stopping work and walking home from the co-working space and trying to go right to sleep, it's not natural, so it doesn't really work the greatest, is what I found. Sleep deprivation is also the enemy. Obviously, if you're working the night shift and you're trying to go out and do all the things during the day as well, it's going to catch up to you, and eventually your performance in the office is gonna catch up to you. And with that, you've got to forget FOMO. There's going to be a lot of things if you're working in Asia or just working the night shift in general that you're going to miss out on, and it just is what it is for a certain degree. But there are also a lot of things you could do at night, so it's not that bad. One thing that some people use is sleep aids for the daytime sleeping. I didn't like doing that much just because it left me groggy, but some people can't sleep without them. A lot of people will recommend them. They're not a terrible thing. I just prefer personally to stay away from them if possible, but it is something there that will help you sleep during the day. Eating habits are key during the night. So you drink a lot of water. If you stay hydrated, you're more likely to stay awake and have more energy during the night shift. No heavy meals before work. Eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner as if you were during the day. So basically, eat a breakfast before you start the night shift, not a heavy dinner if possible. Then lunch during the middle of your shift and dinner towards the end to wind down. Cut out as much junk food as possible. Those sugar highs, like from going up and then coming down, will really kill your sleep and your energy during the night shift. Drink caffeine, but try not to drink it too late in your shift. And that all circles back to you kind of want to go to sleep at the end of your shift, which is not natural when working the day shift, because in the day shift, right, you go home, you eat dinner, have a couple of drinks, watch TV. It's not really the goal. A lot of times when you're working night shift, you're trying to get right to bed, so that caffeine late in your shift can mess up. Create energy. So a lot of times when you get sleepy at the office, it's nice to try to create energy. And how do you do that? There's lots of ways. Some ways that work for me were just go take a walk around the co-working space or your apartment. Just go take a short walk. Meditate during the day. Energy drinks or coffee, but again, not towards the end of your shift. Working out helps build energy. Music breaks or listening to music while you work is always nice. It keeps me awake when I'm getting sleepy for sure. Another thing that's good on the night shift is break the monotony and have a little fun in your workspace. We did that with shirtless Tuesdays or whatever you want to call it at our workspace. But anyways, it took the monotony off of it and made it a lot more bearable. And then last but not least,
just quickly point out who every guy in that photo is. And I'm just kidding.
Every guy in the photo, huh? Well, let's go for it.
I'm just joking. I just think that's such a good photo. All right, then the homework. One of the sides on this deck was homework, right? And I mean, for this one, there's not much homework to do, but go find a few remote locations to work from and see where you're the most productive. Check out the apps. Freedom, One Big Thing, 5-Minute Journal. There's lots of other helpful apps out there as well for working remotely that you can play around with. And last but not least, I guess if you got questions, my contact information, there's my Slack and there's my email, and you guys can reach out to me anytime. Man, crushed it. That was like the most efficient knowledge drop ever.
All right, well, let's do it.
The apps. So we got a few questions coming in. Feel free to use the question and answer box, guys.
There's that.
So I don't know if you can see it on your end, Matt. I think I can just see it as the host. But basically, Taylor's asking what were those apps. So I don't know if you want to go through and explain those 4 that you like. I really like the Brain FM one. But yeah, if you want to go quick, explain the 4 apps that you use. And maybe those of you listening right now can go get your phones out and maybe even download them as we do this.
All right, so 5-Minute Journal, it's an application where you write for 5 minutes every day the things you want to do, accomplish the next day, right? Or things you accomplished the day that you're writing. And then you review it for the next morning for 5 minutes. The One Big Thing is an app where it's literally self-explanatory. So it's you write down the one big thing you have to get accomplished the next day. The app pops a reminder in the morning, and you basically focus on that one big thing until it's done, and then you move on to the rest of your day's work. Freedom is an app that blocks social media applications. You can set time frames in it. You can turn it on and off manually. That way you're not getting your alerts to draw you away from work. And then Brain FM is basically just a music app that plays music that helps with sleeping, that helps with concentrating. You pick kind of what you want, and then it plays music around that. And as far as to relax and go to sleep and to concentrate, it works pretty good. Next.
Any other questions out there? All right, we got one from Rose. What is the most important thing you would recommend doing or setting up at the beginning of your travels if you never worked remotely before? So basically advice for new remote starting in September, especially those doing remote work for the first time, I guess.
Remote work for the first time. I would just recommend organizing your PC and getting it to where there's the least amount of icons on your desktop possible, but yet you know where everything is, and learning where everything is, because really having that PC that's not organized will cost you a lot of time in working remotely. Also, I would just have, again, some helpful apps downloaded that help me stay on task, especially for the people working for the first time remotely. It's so easy to lose focus on what you're doing working remotely for the first time. I know it, like when I had to start working remotely, I got no training, I got no help. It was, okay, you say you want to work remotely, go do it. And I started at the house and then started going to coffee shops and back and forth, and it just kind of learned as I went, because I didn't have any real helpful tools besides, Googling.
Any other questions out there? One thing for those any new remotes watching this, we'll probably cover some of the stuff in the first few weeks that you're on the ground of just brainstorming strategies how to adjust to the new remote lifestyle. One of the big adjustments is something you mentioned of just like the lack of the social element. Do you have any other there's just like no water cooler to stand around and talk. Do you have any other sort of creative solutions for how to like make up for that lack of like keeping in touch with people outside of just your work stuff?
Honestly, I worked remotely working from my house in DC. I kind of made friends with the servers and the bartenders at the restaurants and bars around. I would just go grab a coffee or something to eat and sit there and chit chat with them for a while. Just get out of the house. It just breaks the monotony. That was one way you can meet friends for lunch or different remotes for lunch or dinner or just, walk away from the PC for a little while. Other than that, again, just pick up the phone and make a phone call and just go sit in another room and just have a personal phone call.
I know this one that I just learned actually is pretty funny. Jordan, one of the new guys in Union, he goes on like virtual walks with his coworkers because they used to do that in person. They'd go for like an hour walk.
Yeah.
So he puts like his phone in his pocket now and goes for like a walk with his coworkers. So yeah, there's ways to kind of keep that social bond, instead of just strictly work talk. We have two more questions. Mai says, did you ever consider a dedicated co-working space? I mean, I think, we have them obviously in remote year, but do you ever stick to that or do you like to switch it up, I guess?
No, I like to switch it up. I come to the co-working space from time to time. I'll sometimes work in the apartment, especially when I'm trying to really focus on completing something. I like to have the silence and then it cuts out some distractions. And then a lot of times I'll go to a cafe and sit down and work if it's nice outside, just to have the outside area. I'm lucky in Prague, we have a great outdoor back area to work in, so that's kind of nice. But some of the other co-working spaces, didn't have that, so it was nice to get outside. There you go, Travis. So, it's nice to get outside from time to time. So no, I just don't dedicate to one place. I get a little bored sitting in one place working. It feels like the office after a while,
Yeah, I'm the same. Melissa also asked sort of the same thing I was asking about, but more about like how do you keep in touch with family and friends? Have you had any good routines for that? Since obviously being a nomad means you're gone from home, but do you have like good strategies for just keeping up with people from home? Or are you just totally terrible at it? Because that's kind of
I'm terrible at it. I keep up with friends and things on, I don't know, through Facebook. I'm bad at social media. I use Facebook and that's probably about it. And other than that, I send messages from time to time, email for family. I talk to my parents and, close family members every now and then from the road. But I get caught up and forget about the time zone differences especially when you're in Asia or Europe. It's like, oh, I missed my window to call, right? So yeah, it's more it's more on paper, right, per se, the communication than it is over the phone. But I still make time to make phone calls and all. It's nice to do. I actually almost forgot my father's birthday yesterday and had to call him at 8 o'clock at night back home. So anyways, yeah, it happened. That's a tough one, actually, for me.
I've also heard people do the strategy of just like your first email every morning to be not work related to somebody from home or something, just to make sure every day you connect with somebody. All right, we got a couple more questions. Rose said, do you have any must-have tech items like a laptop stand, badass headphones, anything like that you thought was like a must-have as a digital nomad?
Must-have is a really good set of headphones. I've got a set of Bose headphones that both for just listening to music going through the airport, walking back and forth to the workspace with noise canceling that are just unbelievable. I probably, if they broke, I would run right out and get a second pair. I love those. As far as other tech items, I mean, really just having an unlocked cell phone that you can swap the SIM cards in and out of is a must-have, obviously. And most people do have that these days. And, a battery pack is probably one of the most key things I've had. Because the cell phones out of the U.S. that, for whatever reason, internationally, to me, like my two phones that I've had so far on the trip, the battery seems to run down faster. So really just having a battery pack to charge with you on during the day is a must-have.
Awesome. Yeah, I use my battery pack all the time too. All right. Your very own Beach is asking, especially on remote year, how did you deal with the FOMO, working night shift hours and sleeping when everyone else was awake doing something?
Beach knows I don't sleep.
You just stopped sleeping, huh? I thought that
I
was
just stopped sleeping.
I was like, yeah.
just don't sleep. No, I mean, to deal with the FOMO, it wasn't that bad because working a night shift in Asia wasn't that bad to me because, again, if you can get to sleep 5, 6 in the morning and get up around 1 or 2, you still have the whole afternoon and, around dinner time to go do things. And then, take a nap and then get up and do it again. And the night shift in Asia, we had quite a few people in at the co-working spaces. So, and we had some nice co-working spaces. So it kind of took the, the monotony of working night shift out of it. And I don't know, I kind of enjoyed the night shift personally.
Yeah, you guys had a good crew. How helpful do you think that was, just to have like a pretty good crew of people like together every night?
That was key, especially at the beginning in Kuala Lumpur, because if it would have been maybe a little bit more like Vietnam, where more people chose to work at their apartments than in at the workspace, it made it a little bit more difficult. But I think breaking everybody in Kuala Lumpur, where we had a good bit of people in on the night shift, a great co-working space to work from, it was very helpful. And Kuala Lumpur had food open all night, which was super nice, because that's a problem you run into in some of the cities in Asia, is what's open at night to get food and coffee at. So you kind of got to prepare for that.
A couple more questions. Corinne from your tribe is asking, what's the biggest thing that distracts you in your working groove aside from beer?
What's the biggest thing that distracts me from what?
From just like when you're in a good working groove, aside from beer.
Aside from beer, okay. Messages on my phone. That to go do things. That's probably the only thing that distracts me from work. When I'm in a good working groove, is your phone will go off and somebody with a personal message saying, "Hey, why don't you come do this? Why don't you go do that?" Usually relates to beer.
So yeah, she knows you. You guys have been traveling for 6 months. Last question. If you have T-Mobile, you have to keep your phone unlocked.
If you have what? You cut out.
T-Mobile.
If you have T-Mobile, I have T-Mobile and my phone's unlocked before I came, but I still use my T-Mobile service. It's, from a U.S. standpoint, it's the best cell phone you can have for international travel, because they have a data plan and a plan that just works pretty much everywhere. I think Vietnam was the only country my phone didn't work in, but no one's phone works in Vietnam.
Yeah, I've heard that actually. The T-Mobile, and then there's also the Google Fi, or Google Fi or something.
Yeah,
Google
Fi. You can do.
So yeah,
the only problem with that is you lose your phone number, per se. Like if you decide to go back, and now your phone number's ported, and you kind of lose it. And I've had my number for years, so I just wanted to keep my number. And again, T-Mobile works everywhere. It's so far for me.
Fair enough. We've got a question here. This might be the last one we do from Chad. Have you felt at times that working remotely has hindered your career trajectory? Like, have you felt like you missed a promotion, etc., because you were not in the office like other people were in the office?
So far for me, no, I haven't. I got promoted, 3 times while working remotely at AT&T. So I think it does depend a little bit on the company's culture. And again, what you're missing out on, I guess, from being in the office is to be able to sit there and talk to leadership and go back and forth. But you can do that remotely if you take the time to do it. If you set meetings with management and they see you're performing, it really shouldn't matter whether you're doing it remotely or not. The only thing that might get in the way is if somebody offers you a promotion where now you're in management and you have to be in the office. And then that comes down to, do you want to work remotely or do you want to be in the office? But, that's a personal decision at that point.
That's awesome to hear, the 3 promotions. Cool. Do you want to jump off of the screen share actually, Matt?
Yeah, I can do that.
Cool. Thanks, dude. I actually don't see any of the questions, and it's about that time anyway. So we'll wrap this thing up. Just thanks again, Matt, for doing this, and thank you guys to everybody who joined the call. And I think lots of people watch this in the future and get your wisdom of your 7+ years as a digital nomad. So appreciate it, man. And yeah, thanks again for everybody who joined the call. You can find it.
Hey, no problem.
Ciao, y'all.